Remorse Podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast will contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews of newly released films, please check out our channel Reviews Without Remorse on YouTube and VidMe. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show.
And welcome to the podcast where I'm sorry, you're sorry. My name is David, and I climb mountains for fun. And riding his motorcycle through a fog with doves flying in the background is our favorite spy, Joe.
Don't forget the flames in the background.
I forgot the flames. This is episode 55, and in this show we will discuss the 2018 Oscar winners were announced, and I personally was surprised by the winner. Less surprised by the criminal exclusion from the In Memoriam segment. Jason Momoa is playing the Crow in a remake scheduled for October 11th, 2019. I have a migraine over this. Oh, and the aneurysms keep coming. Mary Poppins Returns gets a trailer. Yes, it's a sequel. Yes, my soul has been destroyed. And finally, let's ditch the calculator and slide rule as Joe and I review Mission Impossible 2.
There you go.
And how are you today, sir?
I am good. I am very good. I'm anxious to start talking about Mission Impossible 2, among other things.
Yeah, this one's going to be quite a little interesting, as they say. So, the fish humping movie won.
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't seen it yet. I have it sitting here waiting for me, and I just hadn't gotten around to it yet. That surprised me. That really did surprise me, and I'm glad to see. I mean, I know a lot of Guillermo del Toro's work. I know he is extremely inventive, extremely creative, so I was happy to see him get some recognition.
I was quite pleased. In many respects, it's overdue. When this guy does junk, he does junk really well. When this guy does art, man, does he do art really well. And what originality in almost all the cases. So yes, The Shape of Water, we should probably let the audience know what we're talking about. The Shape of Water won Best Picture at the 2018 Oscars, written and directed by Guillermo del Toro. And I couldn't be more pleased with that. It's nice that fantasy, science fiction, maybe with a touch of horror is actually getting... And speaking of horror, Get Out won Best Original Screenplay.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I almost feel like they were gonna give that movie something. Why not? Why not let that one have that one? Not what I would have said, but I mean, it was an inventive... It was a pretty original screenplay. So
yes, it was.
I have no problem with it.
Okay, and then the big thing. John Mahoney. He was in Barton Fink. He was in Say Anything. Those are two iconic movies and two iconic roles. Excluded from the In Memoriam segment, he died February 4th, 2018.
I tell you, boy, those people, they have one job to do, for crying out loud. You'd think you'd get that right. The big hitters, at least.
I know. Wait, it gets worse. Let's go to Tobe Hooper. They made a whole segment honoring horror movies, showing segments from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but they couldn't honor Tobe Hooper, who died August 26th, 2017, the creator of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Nice.
It's absolutely amazing. The Oscar show can't get... Seriously, every year, it's like, what do they goof up this year? And it's always pretty creative what they come up with. But it gets worse. Good.
Oh no, this is the topper for me. This one is absolutely positively the topper for me, and this one, as far as I'm concerned, is unforgivable. Adam West died June 9th, 2017, did not get an In Memoriam. What the bleep? What the bleepity bleep bleep?
Ugh, that was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, how hard is it to keep track of who passed away this year? And again, it's the bigger ones that they leave out. I will say this, I'm happy that Reviews Without Remorse did give tribute to most of these guys this year.
We gave tribute to... The only one we didn't do was John Mahoney.
We missed John Mahoney, yeah.
We missed John Mahoney, but that was for completely unrelated reasons. Nothing against him. But yes, we did. We had long segments covering these two fine gentlemen, the two fine gentlemen, and excluded. I swear to you, this is when the Oscar people on Monday are like, why do our ratings keep going down? It's like, because you're out of touch, you pretentious sons of bitches.
The hell that thing get in here?
Gentlemen!
You're him, huh? The Avenger. The killer of killers.
And in other, god dang it, what the hell, man? Jason Momoa has been tapped to play Eric Draven in the remake of The Crow, being directed by Corin Hardy and written by Nick Cave, which is now scheduled. They actually have a release date scheduled for October 2019. Guys, could you come here for a second, please? Have a seat. Have a seat. Have some cookies. Yes, think of it like Chris Hansen. Think of it like Chris Hansen, okay? What the hell? Can we please stop this crap? A guy died to make the first movie, and it was still awesome in spite of it. Do we really need... What has it been? 2019. The original Crow came out in 1994. Is it because it's been 23 years? Is 23 years a good enough amount of time to finally say, it's time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in defense, they did do a Crow 2 with a different actor. So, I mean, they've already trampled on the sacred ground.
I don't know of any Crow 2. I don't know what you're talking about. There was no Crow 2. There was no Crow 3. There was no Crow TV series. There was only The Crow.
Yeah.
Okay? And you cannot tell me otherwise. Myopic, 100%. But that's how I'm looking at it. There was only The Crow. There was never sequels. There's this one perfect movie that a guy died to make, for God's sake.
I agree. It was a great film for not a lot of budget, not a lot of that was pretty spectacular with that movie.
I was honestly surprised by the movie. I figured, they were still a good, 2 or 3 weeks from being done. They hadn't even, filmed all the scenes with the Skull Cowboy, which was kind of a big part in the comic. And I was like, well, they're just going to make a mess of it and do bad CGI. And the CGI, all right, it wasn't the best. Some of the times it didn't look really, really good, but man, you could tell Brandon Lee was really hoping this would be his launch pad. And now along comes Jason Momoa and Corin Hardy and this Nick Cave character who thinks, oh, we can do it better. Thanks, guys. All CGI crow effects, and he's going to CGI into and out of a crow. Yeah, let's take all the organic nature of the original one and just kind of like trample all over it. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, I will say this. I kind of see Jason Momoa doing an okay job. I do see, like, if I had to recast the Crow, I could see him in this.
I suppose. I mean, if anybody could, I'm sure he could, but
I know I don't find it as offensive as you do, only because I know it. I mean, it's just like anything else. It's gonna get remade. Somebody's gonna do it. So I'm kind of just sort of numb to it now. So
So you're the type of guy that, like, oh, when I'm in prison, rape is inevitable, so I might as well just bend over and get it when I start with. Is that what we're talking about here?
Well, I don't know if I can say it that way, but
Mary Poppins, it is wonderful to see you.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Here we go. Speaking of, once again, Mary Poppins Returns. Joe, did you get a chance to watch this trailer?
I certainly did. I had flashes of Hook with Robin Williams.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as I was watching it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing like a modern revisit of an old classic, not necessarily a remake. It's more of a sequel, and fine, whatever. And it was oddly empty, frankly. I thought the trailer really had nothing. Like the last little gimmick of her in front of the mirror, walking away.
Yeah, I was like looking after herself.
Yeah, and I'm saying to myself, oh yeah, this is a little fantasy movie. Thank you for something, just to show me that.
You know what's funny? This trailer is kind of indicative to me of some patterns with Hollywood lately. Lately they do one of two things. They do too little or they do too much. They haven't been able to find a happy medium when it comes to trailers. Look at the Venom trailer, and now look at this trailer. This is... When they do too little, I feel like you're relying way too much on a name to sell your product more than the product itself. And maybe for your younger audiences, that's something that'll work. But hey, man, I've been in the movie business for over 35 years now. That stuff doesn't fly with me anymore. I guess I'm not their audience.
Well, I mean, we're obviously not their audience, but...
I know. Oh, that's funny. I like that. Big Harry and Mike in the morning talking about the new hit movie. It's a great comedy. It's starring and...
I have nothing. I feel like I have nothing to contribute to a lot of these news topics today, because honestly, they're all just sort of washing over me like just kind of inevitable schlock. Yeah, it's like the South Park episode.
With you, somehow the wires have gotten crossed and everything looks and sounds like shit to you. It's a condition called being a cynical asshole.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Everything just sounds like shit, you know?
That was a great episode, by the way.
It was, yeah.
Dude, my problem is that I live in a world where there's this movie Annihilation, which I spoke about previously, in which I gushed about. That, Wind River, The Shape of Water, even The Shape of Water, for God's sakes. It shows that you can actually have something original in this world, as far as I'm concerned. And yet, we're still getting this repackaged junk. I mean, just today, I didn't get a chance to tell you about it, there was a trailer released for Christopher Robin. It was Ewan McGregor playing an adult Christopher Robin, who somehow Winnie the Pooh comes back to him, and he's a CGI stuffed version being voiced by the guy who voices Winnie the Pooh, so it's authentic as hell. And it's like, I'm looking at that, and a part of me is like, oh, and another part of me is like, I fell for it! And
yeah.
I'm just kind of tired of it, man. It makes, this type of stuff makes it hard sometimes to say, yes, I'm a movie lover. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't. I shouldn't feel that way. I should feel like, no. That's just, these are the abnormalities. These aren't the actual, true grit. So to speak. What am I, frickin' Sean Connery?
Agent located. Identity confirmed.
Good morning, Mr. Hunt.
Sorry I barged in on your vacation.
A secret agent is sent to Sydney to find and destroy a genetically modified disease called Chimera. That's all I got. Written by Robert Towne, story by Ronald D. Moore and Brandon Braga, based on characters on the TV series created by Bruce Geller, directed by John Woo, Mission Impossible 2.
Mission Impossible 2.
This was the first sequel to the Mission Impossible movies that followed up with the movie that Joe and I were excited to go into last week, but then kind of talked ourselves down from as we went along. Okay, there's something intriguing about this movie, because the one thing that I noticed about the movie is the plot is good. It's told well. It's not a great plot. It's the oldest plot in the book, but at least this time it's told well, and by the end of the movie, everything made sense, and there was really no question in my head of all the events that happened. And some of the action sequences were nice, but why do I feel hollow? I feel, you know what it is? I've been thinking about it since I finished watching it, and it's like, I love the action sequences. I thought everything had a great beat. What is it about this movie that bothers me? And I can't quite figure it out. I feel like there are moments in this movie that are over-directed, and then I feel like there are moments in this movie that are perfectly directed, and I feel like what's happening is it's that bit of unevenness that happens. Like, when he spends like 5 loving minutes on a car, 2 cars locked together, spinning around in a circle in slow motion, and then, and that kind of feels like, okay. And then a couple of minutes later, he does this amazing shot with the motorcycles on the bridge and stuff like that. It's like, wow, that's cool. I don't know. Maybe you know what? Maybe I should have let you start, because maybe you can help me sort through my dichotomous feelings right now.
Here's a theory for you. I kind of feel like maybe because the movie is so incredibly stylish and good looking, maybe you're feeling like it's too much style but not enough substance. But I would honestly quickly disagree with that, and I would argue that I feel that the style and the substance works pretty well together, and I have a couple examples I can throw out. this is a weird film for me because I know a lot of people don't like it. They kind of feel like it's kind of like, John Woo is really kind of hitting his almost Michael Bay-ish kind of stride where he's got his tropes that he sort of falls back on, and they kind of hit a peak with this film.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with any of that. I frankly find this film to be spectacular. And I understand that I'm probably in the minority, and that's okay. Personally, I find this to be one of the best looking, one of the sexiest films. And I'm an easy lay when it comes to this sort of stuff. I totally admit it. Like, you show me a movie that's really sexy looking and throwing a couple of sunsets, and I'm pretty much already there. And as long as the rest of it follows suit, as long as the substance of the story follows along, and I honestly felt that the story in here was rock solid.
It was.
And, I mean, to the point where it's almost like I use this as an argument, where simple sometimes is better. At the end of the day, and this is going to sound like a ding, but it's not. The Chimera is a MacGuffin. It is, at the end of the day, it's a MacGuffin. They give you a very, very believable, and frankly, I'm surprised that more action spy stories, I'm surprised they don't go down that road more often. Like pharmaceutical companies creating a disease in order to sell the cure, that to me is pretty realistic. I frankly think that kind of thing happens, frankly. Maybe not as blatantly as this, but I kind of feel like that sort of follows. That to me is a very believable plot. So I'm surprised that more stories don't go after it. And it's really a simple story of a cat and mouse going after a MacGuffin, and you can play in that world as much as you want. You can turn left, you can turn right, you can do twists here and there. Keep it simple. I kind of feel like this is a keep it simple, stupid kind of a story. As opposed to, the first one where, again, you needed a calculator and a slide rule to figure out what the hell was going on. Here, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but not to the point where it gets boring. Like, I like the idea that, I mean, the initial shot of Tom Cruise on the plane. Oh, it's not really Tom Cruise, it's the bad guy, and the plane crash. I thought that was pretty well done.
Yeah.
And then, like...
As well as establishing the tech to make the voice change.
Yes, right. I mean, right, they never really mentioned that part before. So, yeah, I kind of find that this... I almost wonder if the simple story here is a direct response to the accusations that the first one was very complicated.
Oh, absolutely it was. 100%. Yeah.
And in fact, I mean, there's a great scene where, it's Cruise talking with Ving Rhames, and they basically figure out what Chimera is. They must have created a virus, and this is the antivirus to kill it. And Ving Rhames goes, "That's simple, huh?" And Tom Cruise just goes, "Why not?" And I love that. I thought that was terrific. And again, it's, why does it have to be an overly complicated plot? So, yeah, I think that really serves this film well. The fact that they more or less keep it pretty simple. You know who is who's doing what the motives are. I love the screenplay, and I'm going to shout out to my brother. My brother Mike hates the screenplay. He thinks it's terrible. And like I said, this is probably, I'm going to throw my arms up and say, look, maybe it works on me. But like the part where him and Naya are talking, and he goes, okay, look, would it make you feel better if I didn't want you to do it? She says, yes. And he goes, then feel better. My brother kind of, he kind of rolls his eyes and goes, yeah, that's not exactly worthy of like Robert Town, whatever.
Hey, Mike, right there with you. I found that line to be cringeworthy.
But I mean, I find the dialogue in most of these scenes to be terrific. I even love the simple, when Cruise goes and meets up with Anthony Hopkins.
You made it sound as if I was recruiting her for her skills as a thief.
Well, then I misled you, or you made the wrong assumption. Either way, we are asking her to resume a prior relationship, not do anything she hasn't already done. Voluntarily, I might add.
No. She's got no training for this kind of thing.
But to go to bed with a man and lie to him, she's a woman. She's got all the training she needs.
Now, granted, Anthony Hopkins can read the phone book and make it sound spectacular. But I even thought just the back and forth with them, the way they talk, the way they whatever, I thought that was great. I mean, and there's even the part, I love the little twist where he says, He says, I thought I was recruiting her because of her abilities as a thief. And he goes, well, then I misled you, or you made the wrong assumption. In either case, and he just proceeds. I love that. I mean, I thought that was great because, again, how simple. It's almost like I wish life's conversations were that direct and that simple, where somebody says, well, then I misled you. Like, let's move on. I have no interest in talking about this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even going to get into who said what or whatever. Mm-hmm. But frankly, he didn't really mislead him. He said, you're recruiting her and she's a thief. He didn't say because she's a thief. You know, so I thought that whole little back and forth was great. And by the way, this has got to be one of the best looking films ever. First of all, and now I'm really going to show my soft side here, Tom Cruise has never looked better than he does here. If I had to have sex with a man, Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 2 has got to take it. I mean, the guy, he is as pretty as any woman has ever been. And,
wow.
I mean, and I watched it this weekend with Mary, and Mary just kind of rolls her eyes. Tom Cruise doesn't really do it for her. And she's like, and what's with the hair? He's constantly flipping the hair like the Maybelline girl. I'm like, yeah, well, whatever, you know.
Oh, this movie is definitely your guilty pleasure.
It is. So anyway, but all in all, like I said, this is my overview of the whole thing. I really think it's dynamite. The story works. You really can't find flaw in the story. I for the most part, I thought the actors, the actresses, they work well. There's one or two things that I would sort of like, was a little not quite perfect, but for the most part, it's good looking. The action is spectacular. I think the action really takes the first one really did not have a whole lot of action, but they sort of do things in this that I think takes that to another level, frankly. And again, you got good old-fashioned gunfights in this. It's great. I absolutely love it. So there you go. There's my raving, and you can tell me where I'm wrong.
You know what? I love your passion. I always love your passion. When a project hits you, man, you go with it and you feel it, and I can taste every word coming out of your mouth like it's a freaking steak. So I cannot fault you for that. I just personally found it okay. I found it fun, but not as, I don't know. Again, I'm still having issues. I've been processing it for the past, we were supposed to record on Monday, but circumstances made it impossible, pun not intended. And we wound up having to record. Today is Wednesday. Normally we record Monday. Today is Wednesday. And I've been digesting for the past 24 hours. And I'm going to agree with you 100%. The movie is beautiful. It is one of the best looking of all the Mission Impossible movies. The coloring, the lighting, all of that, the setting, everything works like that perfectly. The plot, simplistic as the plot is told very, very well. You get all the key moments. They don't really spoon feed it to you. They spoon feed it to you at one point, but not really surprising as the movie went along. Another thing to note about this movie, something that I didn't think about for a little bit, but do you realize that this is basically, so far, the only Mission Impossible movie where Ethan Hunt's character still remains inside the IMF throughout the entire movie?
Yes, I do, and I'm glad you brought that up, because honestly, I wanted to comment on that. Yeah, this is the only time where he's not going rogue or kicked out or whatever, and the whole thing. If you watch all the Daniel Craig James Bond films, the guy is rogue so much that I'm saying to myself, who's even paying him? Like, how does he get his? Like, who's sending him a check at the end of the month? I don't get it. Like it's so overdone, the whole going rogue routine, that it's gotten to be the new norm. Like it's the new like. And I watched this one. He goes in, he gets his mission. He goes and he does it. Does that detract in any way from the overall story? I don't think so. I don't get why. I don't know why they can't just do that these days. Like it seems like they feel like they're not doing their job if he hasn't been cast out and going rogue and yawn. I offer this up as an example. It does not detract from the story, the fact that he doesn't bother with all that going rogue stuff.
The problem with the going rogue storyline is there was a time where the soldier following the orders, that was the norm. Going rogue was like, oh my god, going rogue, that's everybody goes rogue. Everybody goes rogue. Nobody just follows orders anymore. Everybody goes rogue. Okay, and that's just getting boring to me.
It is.
And it's nice. I will give the movie that. It's the first one where they stayed true throughout the entire thing. In the subsequent films, I missed Anthony Hopkins, to be perfectly honest with you. Why the hell wasn't he still in charge of IMF?
Yeah,
after this movie?
yeah.
What the
I
hell?
would like to see him again. Yeah.
You know. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the plot. So the plot is basically a gussied up version of To Catch a Thief. Okay. He recruits Thandie Newton's character, sends her back with her boyfriend, played by Doug Ray Scott, who, by the way, funny little story. Did you know that Doug Ray Scott was the original choice to be Wolverine? Yep,
yes.
He knew it. Okay? Not many people realize this. He was the original choice to play Wolverine. When this movie ran over, he had to give up the part to Hugh Jackman. I don't necessarily think that was a bad exchange.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm sure Doug Ray Scott is kicking himself now, but
potentially. He's a good-looking guy. He's an okay actor. But here's the other side of him. I was never terrified of this man. I was terrified of his blonde, henchman. He kind of terrified me a little bit. But him, no. I mean, like the whole big scene where he cuts the tip of his henchman's fingers off, under the guise of trying to intimidate him about Naya's thing and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of cool. I didn't buy it. I just for some reason
it was
I didn't
almost
buy
like
it.
that scene was necessary to sort of show you that he was the guy in charge. Because if you didn't have that scene, yeah, I agree with you. The blonde guy was the one he creeped you out a lot worse than he did.
Oh yeah, much worse.
So you needed that scene to sort of say, oh no, you should be scared of him too.
Yeah, no. Honestly, in one respect, there was good casting because I think him and Tom Cruise are relatively the same height. So when they got to the fight scene, it kind of looked like they were evenly matched. Because Tom Cruise is 5'0", and I think Doug Ray Scott is about maybe just a little bit taller than him. Hold on, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. I always have IMDb. Nope, Doug Ray Scott is 6 foot. Really? God darn, that's some good work with the camera and stuff like that, man. Poor Tom Cruise. If he goes on Tinder, every woman will be like, "Oh no, you got to be at least 6 foot for me."
We'll put it this way: when most of your leading ladies have to stand in ditches next to you, then you're probably short. At least Hollywood standards.
Yeah, I remember that was Nicole Kidman's big thing, that she was glad she divorced simply because she can wear heels again. 5'7". Yep, I was right about 5'7". So, okay, so he recruits her, gets her to go back with the guy. They go to the racetrack, they get the thing with the video, and then the guy decides to pull a fast one on her and make her stay. Which actually, okay. Little problem. I have a little problem with this, okay? Mm-hmm. They made the big deal of saying she has to get the digital thing from his left coat pocket.
Right.
Okay? Left coat pocket, left coat pocket, left coat pocket. And I kind of feel like a thief wouldn't make the mistake of putting it back in the right coat pocket.
I'll give you that. The way I interpreted that was more the way he was standing, the way she kind of came up to him, it was almost like she had no choice but to go for the right pocket. But yeah, I'll agree with you.
I think they could have done it a little bit differently. They could have done it, I kind of liked, because the thing is he didn't react at all until she put it in the right coat pocket. And I think he would have been a more formidable bad guy if he knew initially that she took it, but a part of him was like, you know what, screw it. Let him have it. He's not going to stop me.
Well, they sort of loosely play with the idea that he may know, he may not know. I thought when she lifts it, and there's a part she takes it out and she starts to walk away, and he goes, "Wait," and she stops, and the music kicks in, dun dun.
Does he dropping
know?
It into her
yes,
hand. Yeah,
exactly right. And he goes, well, let's make it 1,000 or whatever. And it's whew, But again, they don't really say, did he know? Did he not know? Right. When he feels it going into the pocket, you see the obvious reaction that he knew it happened.
Right.
I see. The way I look at it was that they sort of say that he was never not suspicious. She shows up, and again, when the blonde guy, confronts him in the beginning, leading up to the finger snipping part.
Right.
I mean, he says, why do you think she's really here? She was hardly gagging for it when she left. And he got annoyed, and he goes, yes, it's suspicious. Yes, whatever. So I think he always kind of knew, this is a possibility. Something could be wrong here. And he said, maybe I can learn more from her than she can from me or whatever. So again, I didn't take it as he was blindsided at that part at all. But
no, not at all.
It's a noticeable thing, the fact that she put it in the other pocket.
Yeah, it was a small thing, but it kind of annoyed me, and I don't know. I didn't feel like that would have been that was a good character beat for her. I felt like she redeemed herself later at the end when the big shootout happens at the biotech place.
Yeah,
and she picks up the thing and she injects herself.
Yeah,
which
sure.
I mean, I remember the first time I saw that I didn't expect that to happen. That was like not what I thought was going to happen, and I was kind of impressed that they actually went there. Yeah. And yet, if you think about it, they laid the foundation of that from like the first shot of the damn movie. That's one way to transplant the virus, and another way to keep her alive. I thought that was clever. I thought that the shootout. Well, I mean, the shootout in the bio place, that's like a John Woo thing. Like, that man does shootouts like freaking ballerinas can do pirouettes, for God's sake.
And, it's funny, that was also the part when Tom Cruise is in there and he gets rid of, first he gets rid of the bugs over here, then he goes to where the guns are, and he, blasts two of them into non-existence, and then he stops. And I think this was the first time, I think this is the only time, but they go back to the flashback. Right. Which they relied so heavily on in the first one.
Two flashbacks throughout the entire movie. I counted. Go ahead.
In this one?
Yeah, there were only two. There was that one, and then later on there was another one that had him reminding himself about Naya injecting herself with Chimera.
So I like the idea that that's when you put two and two together and realize when they said he said 20 hours, he said 20 hours. Oh, he injected himself. Right here is exactly where he did it. I thought that was clever too. I like that.
Yeah. I also thought that was clever. That to me was an appropriate use of a flashback. They hadn't used it before. It came at the right time. It gave you, because I mean, you can only emote so much. If they had if he had just held it and it was in similar hand positions that the doctor had it, because the doctor was kind of held out his left hand and injected himself with the right, because that was what they were trying to do. They filmed it in such a way that his hand, as he picked it up, was in a similar position, and then it kind of zoomed into Tom Cruise, and then he kind of closed his eyes. And good acting on Tom Cruise's part. Yeah. But I'll forgive the use of a flashback in that scene, because that definitely needed to be reminded to the audience, and I was okay with that.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know what? I'll maybe just for the sake of argument, I'll take the other alternate view. I don't know that they needed to do that, because frankly, it's only a couple seconds later where he's talking to Sean Ambrose, saying like, "Oh, you knew this, right? You knew that he had to inject himself, and that's why you killed him, and that's why you knocked off the plane." So really, he reveals what he's right about to tell you and the audience what he just realized. So you actually could have ditched the flashback.
But you know what that is. That's a freaking movie test screening where people are like, I don't understand how he figured out that the doctor injected himself.
That's true too. You're right. They might say, how did he know that? Because there is actually one or two things in this movie where I say to myself, well, how did they know? Or how did he know? Yeah. Incidentally, too, I also read on IMDb that the original cut was like 3 hours long, 3.5 hours or something crazy.
Jesus Christ.
So
I kind of want to see that cut, frankly.
Yeah.
Welcome to Australia, mate. This ain't funny.
The mother of all nightmares is on the loose.
I don't think I can do it.
I mean, it'll be difficult.
Very.
Well, this is not mission difficult, Mr. Hunt. It's mission impossible. Difficult should be a walk in the park for you.
The thing is like, if we had reviewed this movie back in 2000, I would probably be sitting here stroking it with you at the same time saying, this movie was freaking amazing! But I feel like with coming up on 19 years since this movie came out, I kind of feel like, my tastes have changed. And the way that I look at movies and characters in movies has changed.
Yeah.
I don't mind the movies where it's very black and white and stuff like that, but when you have a movie that's trying to present itself as being, spy and political intrigue, I like a tiny more depth into it. A Bond movie is different. A Bond movie is its own genre as far as I'm concerned. I don't even consider a Bond movie a spy movie. They're a Bond movie, and they're their own brand as much so as a Marvel movie is a Marvel movie. And well, I was going to say a Star Wars movie, but we don't know what the hell that is right now. But you get my point.
Yeah.
I looked at these as spy movies, and after maybe the first Bourne movie kind of spoiled me. I think that's what it is. After the first Bourne movie, that kind of retroactively made me reassess the idea of what a spy movie is supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Yeah, listen, I admit that I'm carrying with me a 20-year-old fascination with this film.
Okay.
I've always, my DVD collection has always had Mission Impossible 2, not Mission Impossible 1, and frankly none of the other ones, because this one always kind of got me in the gut the right way. In retrospect, is it as good now as it was then? Does it age well? Maybe not as much. Again, you can't compare it to the Mission Impossibles of today.
I really, and I freely admit, I'm being unfair because this is a product not only of amazing, talented people, but also of the time frame that it came out.
Yeah. I don't know. Does it not last as well or not work as well today? I would agree. I would have a hard time arguing that it stands up over time. It is a product of its time. But like I said, I still got a soft spot for it.
You know what? And I'm not gonna blame you. I'm not gonna blame you for it because it is all this crap that I'm throwing at it aside. It's entertaining. It is very entertaining, highly watchable. Mm-hmm. It's mesmerizing in its beauty and its editing. My God, the editing in this movie is some of the finest action movie editing ever, as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed. Yeah.
The whole end sequence is just masterfully done.
Yeah.
And and this was 2000. I give this movie even more credit. Like Avid was like still a new system back then. This is like the early days of the Premiere and the After Effects and stuff like that a lot of movie studios hadn't even adapted as of yet.
Yeah.
So to me, the editing in this movie is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the action is astounding. And it's so nice when the action is visceral, the way it is in this movie. Okay? You can give Tom Cruise all the crap you want. They had that big scene with the motorcycle chase at the end. You can feel whatever you want about Tom Cruise. When they showed Tom Cruise on a motorcycle, that was Tom Cruise on a motorcycle. When they showed Doug Ray Scott on a motorcycle, you could tell that was not Doug Ray Scott on the motorcycle.
That's true, yeah.
He had one shot where he was like following all the cars on the motorcycle, but when any of the stunt stuff came up, that was not Doug Ray Scott. And the few close-ups they did do of him, you could tell that the bike was on some kind of track or something like that. Not the case with Tom Cruise. That guy's a crazy son of a gun, and thank God for him.
There's a ton of the rock climbing stuff. A lot of that rock climbing is him. Granted, he's got cables holding him up in case he does fall that were digitally removed. But they said he did a lot of rock stunts. Even the scene of the knife that goes right by his eyeball at the last fight.
He insisted on it being real, yeah.
Yeah, that is a real sharp blade that is being suspended by a cable so that it could not go past a certain. But still, that thing is like a quarter inch away from his eyeball. It's tickling his eyelashes.
His eyelash. That I was about to say. It freaking tickled his eyelash. Something I didn't notice the first time I saw the movie, but I was watching it. It's like, holy crap!
Oh my God! I'm afraid to put eye drops in my eyes, and this guy's doing this. Like come on.
It was a great effect, and John Woo. This is John Woo at the top of his game as far as I'm concerned with directing.
Yeah.
Is it his best movie ever? That's a debate for another time, but you can't deny the results. He even somehow managed to throw in frickin' flying birds. It's like they're in this little facility. There just happens to be pigeons right there during the big fight. That was just It's like little shoehorning, but yeah.
yeah, that's true. And I loved it too. I thought, I mean, the shot of him walking past, when he blows up the door and he just walks past and the dove flies in right at the right moment. I mean, like I said, I'm an easy. Like I love that stuff. But here's something too. I do remember people being very critical of all the masks that were used, and I will concede the idea. It was funny. I kind of gone back and forth on this. Like, everybody complained there was too much of that mask. There was too much of the mask, and by the time it happened at the end, you saw it coming. And I kind of went back and I looked at it again, and I noticed that it really does follow the rule of three. I noticed
masks.
that there's actually five. There's actually 5 shots of masks coming off.
Okay.
But twice.
I missed 2.
No, I mean, no. You'll when I explain this, you'll be like, oh yeah, right. I mean, in the beginning, Tom Cruise takes the mask off. It's Doug Ray Scott before they crash the plane. That's one.
Right.
Then there's the scene later where Cruise is dressed up as the Russian scientist who's dead.
Right.
And while that's happening, Naya is running away from Ambrose's house. He grabs her with the Tom Cruise mask on.
Right.
So that's 3. Right. Then fast forward to the finale where Tom Cruise is fighting with the blonde-haired guy. He drags him in the room. The blonde-haired guy has the Ethan Hunt mask on and gets shot. That's 4. And meanwhile, now Tom Cruise is running down the hallway with the blonde-haired guy, and that's the 5th one. Right. There's a lot of the mask on and off, but again, it happened really in 3 parts. So when the last one happened, I just sort of said to myself, look, that's the rule of 3. It was only the 3rd event where there were masks involved. But however, I can get it when people say, but at that point, you're almost expecting the 3rd mask scene, and when Tom Cruise gets shot, he's not dead. So it was almost, but I thought that really worked well. I mean, I thought that worked terrific because it wasn't like, pretty much as soon as he shot the guy, he realized almost instantly that something was wrong because he notices right away that he's got the pinky bandage. So yeah, I mean, I thought that worked pretty well, but I can concede that you kind of, because there was so much mask stuff going on, that you probably figured, well, that's probably what's going on.
You know what? But in a weird way, it actually followed its own rule of 3. Maybe there were 3 because if what I'm just, let me see if I'm getting it correctly. What you're saying here, like, people think like you would think the rule of 3, and people would think rip off 1 mask, that's rule 1. Rip off the 2nd mask, that's rule 2. Rip off the 3rd mask, that's rule 3. And now all of a sudden you're at 4 and 5. But if I'm getting you, what I'm seeing here is, well, wait a second, because the reveal of the 2nd masks happened at the same time, you could technically call that the 2nd rule of 3.
I'm counting that as the 2nd time, right.
Okay, now I see what you're saying, and I completely agree. First of all, even regardless of the rule of 3, I didn't think it was overdone. I thought it was pertinent. I thought it held the plot. I felt like it was part of the entire situation. So no, I don't. If anybody's complaining about that, what the hell is wrong with them?
Yeah, I mean, in every case, I mean, it does seem like the best way to solve that particular problem. Yeah, I mean, to get the information out of that guy, dressing up as the other guy made sense for him to, especially for him to convince Naya not to leave the house. You have to put the Tom Cruise mask on and do it as Ethan Hunt. So, yeah, I know. I thought it all worked really well. I thought it was great.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. I guess the only problem I actually had with the 3rd mask reveal, the guy that plays the blonde guy, he's like 6'3", and Tom Cruise is like 5'7".
Yeah.
I didn't realize masks made you taller.
Well, again, Hollywood-wise, everybody's 6 foot even.
Yeah, I know.
But
it's awful.
Put it this way: if that was
personal.
really a thing, I guess you could argue. Look, he was dragging the guy on the ground. He never actually stood up. Maybe if he did, it would have, But then again, Tom Cruise walked in dragging the guy with the mask on. So yeah, you're right. The guy would have noticed.
Yeah. Pretty much, it's a small thing. It's a nitpicky thing. Yeah. It's just I find that amusing sometimes. Yeah.
Incidentally, I also noticed that's a good way to get your good guy to wear black, because have him disguise himself as the bad guy, so that he could wear a black leather jacket for the rest of the film.
That was a nice jacket, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Now, honestly, like I said, I'm nitpicking, and I'm nitpicking only because it is definitely due to advanced years and newer films and stuff like that. Because honestly, like I was saying even before we went off into this little interlude, it is fun, it is exciting, it is well directed, and it's insane, and it's the without the Mission Impossible movies, would somebody have thought to do the Bourne movies? So maybe we should, try and remember that a little bit.
Yeah, and again, I still, I mean, as over the top as these films are, I still sort of find them to be much more grounded than a lot of the James Bond movies or whatever. I never find this one to go like very over the top.
No, this one stayed relatively grounded. The big scene where he went into the building through that giant shaft, a little bit, but I mean, not too much.
And yeah, again, the whole thing is well directed too. I didn't even talk about. I love the scene where the two meet at the Spanish, party with the Spanish dancing and the music and everything. I mean, that to me was just terrific too. And incidentally too, I wanted to mention, the part where, they do this, the super slow-mo where they spot each other from across the room.
Right.
And again, I'm a sucker for this, but I can understand if people thought it was cheesy. But then when she vanishes, I love how when you saw her running and she'd run up the stairs or whatever and she would stop, she was doing it along with the actual music. And at first they kind of blew it off and just thought, well, that was like a style decision to have her running with the music playing. But if you watch it, she's actually running and then stopping when the dancers would stop, as if the dancing and the banging their feet on the ground would cover her steps. So it was basically it was cover that she would stop and run and stop again and run again. So I thought, again, I'm watching the style and the substance work together. And I thought that was pretty clever.
It was. I felt that opening was, at first I thought it was pretentious, but then it kind of like brought itself around to me. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. And they kind of used that same beat when they were, doing that cute little car chase.
Yes.
Which the director has gone on to admit that, yes, that came from, GoldenEye. That was inspired by the GoldenEye car chase between Bond and Senna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I have heard people. There are a lot of commonalities between those two movies, but honestly, and boy, you're gonna hang as a Bond fan. I should be hung for this. I think this one does it better. I think this does that car chase better than they do in GoldenEye. I mean, the GoldenEye is kind of like a cute little, it's a nice way to meet, and they race a little while, and then she leaves. Here, it's integral to the story. I mean, it's how they get together, and then the part when they crash and they spin, and then the dance music comes up again. I mean, that's terrific.
Watch the road. Watch the road.
One of the things about the series that I feel like you notice is that maybe not so much in the later films, but especially in the first 1, 2, and 3, you really do get, a series where you're taking the same idea, you're taking the same character, but each director gets to put his own stamp on it.
Right.
And I feel like this is clearly John Woo putting his stamp on this film. In fact, going back to the GoldenEye reference, it's funny because I remember there was GoldenEye, and then immediately following that was Tomorrow Never Dies.
Right.
GoldenEye to me was Pierce Brosnan's first, and they seem to want to give that one sort of a timeless feel to it, where there was a lot that happened. The technology is kind of stagnant a little bit. The locations, it's again, very Cold War-ish. It's supposed to be in Russia. By the second film, there was a very noticeable jump in style where it was like, okay, now let's put Bond back in modern day. Not so much the old and the old Europe and whatever. This was back in modern times. And I kind of felt like the jump from Mission Impossible 1 to Mission Impossible 2 was very similar. Where, the first one they were shooting for that, again, Eastern Europe, cold cobblestone streets. Here, now we're going to, a much different feel with sexy sunsets and everybody's, again, In the first one, everybody's wearing a suit. Everybody's got a suit and tie. Here, nobody's got a suit and tie. They have jackets with shirts. I mean, everybody's dressed super nice. It's like John Woo said, like, let's get some good-looking clothes in here. Even Anthony Hopkins is wearing, like, a dark shirt under a blazer or whatever. You know, everybody's dressed great in this one. So I kind of feel like there's a parallel there where they, you know, again, that director gave the first one that stamp, but here John Woo gives it a different. And that will continue.
And I agree. It's funny because if you think it's not until I think it's Mission Impossible 5 that you have a case where the same writer and director comes back for the sequel.
Yeah.
Because I think Rogue Nation was done by Christopher McQuarrie, and I think the new one that's coming out, Fallout, is also written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie. Yeah. And I think that's the first time that's happened in the entire series.
I did feel like 4 and 5 probably were the most similar of the whole batch, really. And it seemed like there was the same team working on it.
It's starting from Mission Impossible 3 up. It's J.J. Abrams' company that has taken over.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why it kind of probably seems that way. In fact, next week when we talk about Mission Impossible 3, we're going to have to get into Mr. J.J. Abrams since he directs it.
That's right. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, you have some pretty big name directors working on these things, and again, each one puts his own stamp on it, which I think is pretty fascinating.
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay,
but how much do you like it?
How much do I like it? You want me to go first with the score?
Sure, I got.
All right, I gave the Mission Impossible 2 a 7, and if you remember, I gave Mission Impossible last week a 6. I gave this a 7. And honestly, the only dings I'm giving it is I just didn't feel like a lot of the side characters came alive as well as they did in the first one. I didn't feel like the plot was... I mean, yes, it's an intriguing plot. It's a simple plot, but I guess I kind of miss it. I kind of feel like the other problem, and I know, and I admit this freely, that I'm dinging this movie based on an 18-year advancement in the action and spy genre movie. I know this, and I'm not proud of it, but I have to kind of go with my feeling that I felt after I watched it again, as opposed to my initial feelings, and I almost feel bad. Honestly, it's like a 7.6, but I rounded down. That's really what I did here.
Okay. All right. Well, this might surprise you. I'm going to give this guy a 9.
No, it doesn't actually. It does not surprise me.
Yeah, it probably does. I mean, I've done nothing but rave about it.
After your little opening passion fest, hell yes. I was like, I'm almost wondering if he's going to give it a 10.
There's a part of me that would like to give it a 10. Because honestly, I mean, again, we always say like, well, if we can't ding it, well, what do you know? I frankly can't really knock much about this film. I really can't focus on anything that I say is really kind of or just doesn't work or whatever. I frankly find that this is a vision. This is John Woo's vision. Mm-hmm. The story is pretty spotless as far as I can tell. Again, he keeps it simple, but it progresses in a way that makes perfect sense. He uses tropes from the first one without, relying too much on it. The screenplay by Robert Towne. Not everybody thinks it's perfect. Hey, Mike, what's up? But I personally, I love it. And like I said, I think the reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because I will admit, like I said, I'm an easy lay when it comes to a lot of this stuff. You know, a sexy movie with sunsets and good action and the music is great, by the way, too. The music is spectacular. Yeah. I love what he did with the score. It's aces. It's absolutely aces.
You gotta be kidding.
So, in the spirit of full disclosure, if my voice sounds a little bit different, yours truly just got socked with the winter storm of the decade, frankly. And as Dave and I were closing in on finishing up, well, my power went out. So I have had to relocate. My power's still out. I had to relocate, and I am using my travel microphone, so if I sound a little different, that's why. And Dave and I will continue as if nothing happened.
Did something happen? I have no idea what you're talking about. This is still the same day. These are the same clothes I was wearing yesterday.
Oy, what an experience. Okay, but that's for another time.
So, who asked you, sir?
Who asked me? My who asked you is sort of a funny one. I'm going to go with the character of Billy. That was sort of a weird one for me, only because from the time this character showed up, I thought for sure he was going to be dirty. Because I was swearing up and down it was only a matter of time before it turns out he's with the bad guys. Because he was just too eager, all of a sudden out of nowhere. He's just super happy to be there, and he's really eager to help and everything. Like, he's overly eager to help out. Because he was so oddly eager, and some of the stuff he said was just almost odd. Like, he was he made weird comments. So anyway, I couldn't really get my head around his character, and frankly, he was distracting because I was so convinced he was gonna be a turncoat. Like I said, I'm willing to bet he was probably written better, but we just kind of lost a few things on the cutting room floor. So that'll be mine. I thought his character was handled a little oddly.
You know what? I could see that. I could definitely see that. I don't necessarily think that was the intention. I personally think the character was just like, a departure from the first one. Everything about this movie tried to differentiate itself from the first one in the way of its plot and stuff like that, and the way its twists were relatively not transparent. That's the wrong word. More like, not like, oh my God, everybody's a traitor. So
yeah,
but I can actually see where you're coming from and why that would be. But his was definitely the weakest of all the characters in a movie with characters that were just to begin with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll grant you that one. That's a good one.
Okay. So how about you?
God, and I'm gonna get slammed for this one. I know it. Okay. I feel like sometime in 2000, a young Zack Snyder watched every single slow motion shot in this movie and furiously scribbled notes and said, "Oh, that's the type of director I'm going to be." I really got tired of the slow motion shots. Just rewatching it, every time the camera started slowing down, I was like, ugh. I mean, for the action shots, I was okay with it, but like when he's doing the scene where they're spinning out in the car, it's like, really? We need that? We need it to be when he's jumping from one rock to another? I kind of felt like after a while, it was just overused. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll grant you that. I kind of feel like I don't mind it so much in this one because it's funny, as you're saying that, I'm hearing my own complaints in films like Wonder Woman and, where everything is super slow-mo and the backflips and everything. At least here, the stunt is more practical. So when they do slow-mo, I kind of don't mind it as much because you are sort of savoring something as opposed to shifting to like a very heavily CGI'd green screen shot. But yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, this is the John Woo signature stuff times 10.
Yeah.
I will admit that.
And it's okay. At the time, there wasn't a lot of that, but the biggest problem that I actually have with this movie is time more than anything else. I probably would have been giving it a 9 with you if it wasn't for the fact that here we are reviewing it almost 20 years later. I feel like this is a movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's a fun movie, but it's not really a timeless movie. It's a snapshot of a time frame that's become like the, I don't want to, maybe poster child is the wrong thing, but definitely has been kind of a template for how a lot of movies play themselves out. And I will guarantee you, I'll find an interview with Zack Snyder that says that John Woo is my favorite director. Guaranteed.
All right, so let's switch gears and talk about what you liked best. Give me something. Give me for your consideration,
dude. I said it in the show, and I'm going to say it again. Honestly, some of the best freaking editing of an action movie ever done. Mm-hmm. All right, and without CG, without having to use any type of tricks. This was 2000. This was honest to goodness editing. And it's freaking glorious. It's running at the peak of the editing stages before things became way, way too easy to like cut it down to the micromillimeter camera scene and everything like that. brilliant editing. The action was so well edited that you could easily follow it, and it was exciting and it was thrilling. I'm serious. Editing. This movie, cinematography was like a close second, but the more I thought about it, it's like, no, you know what really brought this movie together? The way it was edited. Everything just flowed perfectly in this movie. Even when it's something as ridiculous as the scene where she's coming off the boat and it's in slow motion and he reaches out and grabs the scarf as it goes away. It's like, okay, that's a tiny little bit tedious, but man, is it beautifully edited. Beautifully edited.
There you go. Can't argue with that. That's perfectly said.
And how about you, sir?
I am just going to give it to the granddaddy of modern action, John Woo.
Yeah, he definitely is.
You know, again, I completely sympathize with what you're saying in that it's the only weakness I think is that it's old at this point. I mean, I frankly lament the idea that I can't really even show the original Matrix to my nephew, knowing very well he's going to kind of go, oh, I've seen this already. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This was it. This was again, I'm showing my age, but this was the granddaddy of bullet time. We never saw that before. This was this. And I feel like John Woo is really the grandfather of a lot of what we have today. I mean, you're right. We have the Michael Bays and the Zack Snyders because of John Woo. We have guys who were overusing it, overdoing it, not understanding that you need story first and then the style second. But John Woo he did it all right. He did it first, and frankly, I think he's a master. He's a master at what he does, and quite frankly, again, you're talking about this was the time. This was after Hard Boiled and his Hong Kong masterpieces, frankly. This was right after Face Off or right before. So this was like a time when John Woo was really at his peak. He really had honed his craft into something that was really special. And again, does it age well? Well, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, and it really is sort of hard to just sort of put yourself back into what it was at the time. But you have to give it to the guy. He was an original, and a lot of the things we have today, we have him to thank for. So I have to hand it to John Woo, and I really think this film, it really, a lot of things really come together perfectly, and I really have to hand it to him.
I'll agree with that, man. He is the master of the action genre, even to this day, and I can't disagree with that at all. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
listen, I don't think you have to apologize to your score to anybody, because I have a hunch there are people listening who think that both of us are probably way too generous. But hey, that's me, and
I could. You know what? The reason why it's not. The reason why it's the score as it is because I do appreciate a lot what it does, and it works. It's a damn hard-working movie. It's a movie that really didn't rely on a lot of green screens, a lot of CGI and stuff like that. And for its time and its place, that was kind of the norm. And frankly, it harkens me back to wishing that things were still like that things were still visceral.
This message will destruct in 5 seconds.
And I think that'll probably wrap it up for our Mission Impossible 2 review.
Yes, it certainly will. But, ladies and gentlemen, the Mission Impossible Fest continues with one last one. And then we're going to take a little break, and we'll get back to them in time for Mission Impossible 6, which is known as Fallout. But yes, this is it. Coming up next week, the last numbered Mission Impossible movie.
That's
directed by J.J. Abrams. Originally supposed to be directed by Joe Carnahan, but was given to J.J. Abrams.
And it was actually one of his, I think that might have been his first full-length movie, actually, that he directed.
First major full-length movie he directed? That's a good question.
I have a feeling, we'll cross it next week, but I have a hunch this was his first film after all the TV work that he had done. I mean, he was making a name for himself, and I think this was his breakout movie.
You may be right. You most certainly may be right. So we will definitely find out, and we will discuss it next week. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, my man Joe, thanks for putting up with the snow.
Thank you for putting up with my my blackout, my lack of power, my lack of water, my lack of food. Alrighty.
All right, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night, good week, sir.
I will see you next time.
Pistolero!
Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode. And be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube and VidMe for spoiler-free reviews of new releases, as well as in-depth discussions of current and classic cinema. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You can find our page at patreon.com. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are used for commentary and critique, and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.